Kaikoura Te Tai o Marokura Marine Management Bill, committee stage.
I declare the House in committee for consideration the Kaikoura Te Tai o Marokura Marine Management Bill.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman.
The House members, the House and Committee for consideration of the Kaikoura Te Tai o Marokura Marine Management Bill. Is Minister?
Mr. Speaker.
Are you seeking leave to have this provisions as one question?
I am indeed, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, I didn't want to prompt you, but it's so perceptive of you.
I seek leave of the House for the committee stages to be taken as a single question.
Leave has been sought. Is there anyone opposed to that course of action? There appears not. Leave is granted. So the question is that parts 1 and 2, clauses 1 and 2 and schedules 1AA to 3 and 5 to 7 stand part.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Nick Smith.
Mr. Chairman, I firstly want to say that for this to be the very last bill passed by the 50th Parliament is something that, in my view, all parties of this Parliament should take pride in. It is actually only possible because of a cross-party agreement that has been reached. I want to acknowledge the Honourable Ruth Dyson for her support for enabling us to make this measure. I know that she has been a supporter of improved marine management across our New Zealand coastline, and also Eugenie Sage and the Green Party, and I note the SOP that I've tabled in my name that bring forward the review of these Kaikoura marine management measures from the 25 years that is in the bill to 10 years as part of the compromise that enables this bill to be passed today. Mr. Speaker, this is actually a very significant bill, and I note the Chairman is one who has a passion for marine life, or generally for hunting it like crayfish. It actually creates, Mr. Chairman, New Zealand's largest whale sanctuary, a sanctuary of over 5,000 square kilometres. Mr. Speaker, that whale sanctuary could not be placed in a more appropriate place in New Zealand than Kaikoura. That is a place of which every New Zealander takes pride in the development of whale watching, and particularly the way in which a local runanga and the Ngāi Tahu have developed an incredibly successfully, globally recognised tourism business with whale watch that's not only benefited whale watch but has actually completely rejuvenated that community of Kaikoura. I also say that this bill provides for a New Zealand's very first seal sanctuary. Truth is, Mr. Speaker, that the very first interaction between Europeans, Maori and these islands was from the wholesale slaughter at an incredible scale of not millions but hundreds of millions of fur seals. This bill is the very first area of a New Zealand fur seal sanctuary. And Mr. Chairman, I'd invite any member of this House to visit Ohau Point, to watch the baby seals play in the waterfall, where I was 3 or 4 weeks ago with my own family, and just seeing the joy of hundreds of New Zealanders and visitors to see that very special experience of baby seals playing in a waterfall, a experience that's actually listed in that global Lonely Planet magazine as one that every person on the planet should get the experience to enjoy. Mr. Speaker, this also provides for the biggest marine reserve adjacent to the New Zealand mains islands of the North or South Islands. The new marine reserve, and I'm happy, Mr. Parker, to respond to your point, and just want to talk about the Kaikoura Marine Reserve. It will be the largest marine reserve on the North or South Islands. It will go to the deepest waters. And I think that marine reserve is very well justified, because I don't think many New Zealanders appreciate the marine life in that Kaikoura trench, so close to our mainland islands, has the richest marine life of anywhere on the globe. In fact, my department scientists have said that the second most abundant marine life at depths greater than 1,500 metres has less than 1/500th of the abundance of marine life that's in that Kaikoura trench. And it is absolutely right that we are protecting it. To respond quickly to the interjection from David Parker, what about the Kermadex? The government's position on the Kermadex is that when you make decisions about marine protections and other use, you need knowledge. And that is why the government is spending extensive money with NIWA and also other partnerships to actually get better information about both the conservation resources that are in the Kermadex as well as the economic potential, Mr Speaker.
Honourable Next Smith.
So that we can make a well-informed decision. It is the government's view that the Kermadec Islands is an area where there needs to be additional marine protection, particularly with those black smokers that exist in that area, and it is our view, and if we are privileged to be the government or deferred opposition, we would be supportive post the election of making progress on that front as well for marine protection. Mr Speaker, the other part of this bill provides for both Mataitai and Taipuri reserves for Ngāi Tahu and its local runanga, and it also makes provision for significant reductions in recreational catches in that Kaikoura area. Mr Speaker, my last point would be to pay tribute to the collaborative process that has delivered these measures. Mr Speaker, I make no apologies for saying that New Zealand makes better progress around marine and other conservation issues by getting warring factions together and coming to an agreement. And if there was anywhere in New Zealand, Mr Chairman, of which we should celebrate a successful outcome of that, it is here at Kaikoura. And when I went to Kaikoura 20 years ago and talked about marine reserves, I attended a public meeting of over 100 people where there had to be a police presence. Such was the tension between the protagonists and the antagonists around these sorts of measures. The fact that the Kaikoura community has come to 100% agreement on these is a remarkable achievement. And Mr Speaker, I say on this last bill, on this last day of this 50th Parliament, it is equally true that we should take some pride that there is unanimous agreement by the Parliament on these marine protection measures. The last thing I wish to say is I want to pay a tribute to retiring Kaikoura MP Colin King. He got me out in a wetsuit even before he was an MP because he wanted to see progress being made on this bill. Sorry? Well, we have a contestable open process in National. Kaikoura. Actually, I tell the members opposite, the new candidate for Kaikoura, Stuart Smith, will be an outstanding Member of Parliament for that community. He's strongly supported by Colin King. We are a party that's going through rejuvenation. I would remind members on the opposition benches they could learn from the experience of Kaikoura as to how to run candidate selections with class and with democracy in the way in which the National Party does it. And I know that Colin King takes great pride that on his very last day in Parliament he's seeing a dream and a vision of what would take place in his community being brought to fruition. Finally, again, Mr Speaker, I do want to acknowledge Ruth Dyson and Eugenie Sage for the agreement that's been reached on this bill to enable it to be passaged today.
Ruth Dyson.
Mr Chairman, can I first of all briefly take the opportunity to acknowledge you and your role in this Parliament.